So I've been watching your posts, your reels, all your things. Man, I'm telling you, the majority of you have really got this whole thing with what's going on with inflation, what's going on with rates, what's the impact. You've really got this down to a place where you're really good at all of this. I'm impressed. I like to see that. So I want to share, because this is what's been going on. This morning, I just got done locking a loan for one of our clients. In fact, it's a client for someone in this office. And, it was so refreshing. When I did the pre-approval, we had to do it at 7.5 or 7 5/8, and I just went ahead and locked him at 7.125 with no points. I actually could have got him down to 6.5, but it didn't make sense to pay the points because we'll just refinance them out anyway in a year. But, it's just so refreshing to see something that's a little bit more fun to see. And so anyway, that was a real positive. I did want to chat with you though about appraisals, if you don't mind, because we're running into an issue, not with appraisals coming in low. That has not really been an issue. But we got a different issue coming up. And that is, we've been so used to, probably since April of, well, maybe before that, January of 21 through maybe May of this year, almost a year and a half, where appraisal contingencies were down to nothing. I mean, they were, we were doing a lot of them with, you got to get the appraisal in, Greg, during due diligence. 7 days, you got to have it in because they're doing no appraisal contingencies. And so that's not the case today necessarily. So I want to share, I would encourage you, even whether you're using me or whether your buyer's got a different appraisal company, I would strongly encourage that you contact the lender and just ask them what their timing is on appraisals right now. They're coming in much better. They're coming in faster. I don't think I've had a rush fee on an appraisal in 2.5, 3 months now, which is so nice. But I would still recommend calling your lender, calling me, whatever, with your, what do you need for an appraisal? And here's why. The one that we've got right now that just came in over the weekend, we're closing it, it's not real fast, but relatively quickly, December 12th. So, just over 3 weeks, and we got a couple holidays in there. But I said to the agent and I said to the buyer, I really don't want to order that appraisal, as you know, until after the inspection's done. Well, they're doing the inspection today. They went binding yesterday. So they're doing the inspection today so I can get all my disclosures out today. And hopefully we'll be able to order that appraisal either tomorrow, maybe Wednesday at the latest. And again, you know why. We don't want to order that appraisal because buyers got to pay for it. As soon as I order it, buyers got to pay for it, which is normal. Most lenders do it that way. But we don't want them to pay for something they may not use if it's not going to go through the inspection process. So now, he said, Greg, do you think you could get it in by such and such a date? And I said, maybe, but I don't think so because we've got Thursday and Friday this week is a holiday. And for many people, it's really a 4-day holiday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so in that case, I said, hey, can you give us a few more days? Give us through not next week Friday, but maybe the Wednesday after, which is still in time for closing, no big deal. So I'm encouraging you to just check with your lender to see what their timing is. Right now, most appraisals, depending when I order it, are going to be anywhere from about 8 or 9 days up to about 12 days. And that's not bad. That's no rush fee, no nothing. Just get it in, get it out pretty quick. Obviously, if your business is a little bit slower, that means my business is a little bit slower. The trickle-down effect, the appraiser's business is a little bit slower. Yes?
Is that 8 or 9 days from binding or from when you actually...
From when we order it. Yes, good question, Lanier. Is it 8 or 9 days from binding or 8 or 9 days from when we order it? It's 8 or 9 days from when we order it. That's the magic number, okay? And, again, I would encourage you not only to check with your lender, but make sure your buyer is aware. Now, if they're working with me, I make absolutely sure they're aware of this, that as soon as I order it, they're going to get the trigger that says you got to pay for it. I cannot have them wait 2 or 3 days to pay for it. That doesn't help. So I let them know up front. Courtney and Brandy, who are our assistant and senior processor, they are all over it. I mean, if Courtney orders that appraisal in the morning and it's not paid for by 3 o'clock, she's on the phone with the client saying, are you going to pay for it? We can't, they can't place the order. So anyway, so appraisals and they're coming in good. Appraisals are coming in well right now. Are you experiencing anything different? Are you having low appraisals? No. I mean, again, most of the contracts that are coming in, I'm asking the question just like I always do. What do you think? What does the listing agent think of where this house is priced? And as long as you tell me that it's priced pretty good, then we shouldn't have any issues. And again, we haven't had any issues. So now, have any of you still had contracts that you're writing that are coming in above list price? Anybody? Yeah, you still, 3 of them, just hands go up right away. And even on those, because we've had several, even on those, appraisals are matching or coming in a little bit above the contract sales price. So I think we're in pretty good shape, unlike what it was some months ago. Now, be prepared, because if you've got a development where prices have gone down a little bit, and do you know where prices have gone down? Because you've heard me say it very boldly that home values continue to go up, and they do, they're continuing to go up. But there's one segment where home prices, list prices have gone down. Jay?
I see it in the as-is properties.
In what?
Investment properties as-is.
Investment properties as is, that's lowered a little bit. That's one. There's another one though, a big one.
Do you like properties teetering on jumbo loans?
Nah, I'm not seeing that. Oh, I've got some jumbos that are, like they're coming in way over asking, way over list price. New construction. New construction. And why? Because builders had all this traffic going through their developments, and they had all these homes that they were just, but guess what's happening? Traffic at new construction sites have gone to nothing. That's not true, it's not nothing, but it has slowed tremendously.
I was in a new construction office last week, and they had to do $40,000 price reductions on a $400,000 price point, so not a real high price point, because the guy before my client got there told me he hadn't seen anybody in the office in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what we're seeing. And that's part of it, because when a builder has inventory on the ground, they're paying interest on that. So in the past, as that home was completed, it was sold, closed, and there was no extra interest. Now they've got inventory sitting on the ground and they're paying interest. So it's not like they necessarily want to drop the price. What they want to do is they want to incentivize it enough so that the interest is not going to be hitting their books every week, every month. Because you think about it, their interest rates have gone up because what? Sure, they're paying construction rates. Construction rates are not tied to mortgage. They're tied to the Fed, which has been raising rates, so the cost goes up to them. So they're at a situation right now where they're saying, I got to get rid of this. So how does that affect you, me, and our borrowers? If you got somebody going into a new construction, and let's just say they do this in another month or so, and they were paying a previous price and now all of a sudden they're selling for a little bit less, it's possible that an appraisal could come in a little bit low. Possible. The other thing that new construction has an issue with is where's the trend? So if there was a $400,000 home, one second, Stephen, if you got a $400,000 home and that $400,000 home has been selling for $370, $380, $390, $400, $400, $400, $400, $370. appraisers are required to put in their appraisal, is the trending going up or going down? So you're not going to see that on resale much. You're just not going to see that. I mean, we'd have to have a mega problem, which we're not going to have. But construction on a temporary basis, we're going to see some of that. Stephen?
I just wanted to clarify, so the issue is when your buyers are coming in at price and they're not getting any incentives from the builder. And because the builder's getting incentives to the other people, that's a downward trend. And if someone does come in and pay the price they're asking, then they can run into issues.
Possibly. So for example, let's say that somebody put a house under contract back in May. If you put a contract on a new home subdivision back in May and it was not standing inventory, when was that house going to be completed? Probably sometime fourth quarter, maybe even first quarter. So in May, I may have paid $400,000 for that house. Now there's been no traffic. And now there's a little bit of standing inventory, 1 or 2 homes, maybe not more than that, but 1 or 2 homes. Those 1 or 2 homes all of a sudden go and sell for $370, to use your example, Lanier. Now, my May contract was for $400,000 and it's going to be closing in December. So I'm ordering the appraisal now because I want it to be inside of that 60-day window. And there's a home that just sold for $370 and it's maybe not identical, but it's very similar. That could present an issue. I'm not saying it will, but it could. So we just want to be, new construction is going to go through this kind of swing a little bit temporarily. It's temporary. It's not going to be forever. But we need to just be aware of that. So that's what I would caution on appraisal. So,
How long do you think they'll be in a swing for?
what's that?
How long do you think they'll be in a swing for?
Probably just a few months.
Okay.
Just a few months, because standing inventory is going to go. The builders are going to, like Lanier said, they are going to get rid of that standing inventory.
Yeah.
They're going to get rid of it quick because they don't want to pay interest on it. So they'll monitor it. They're pretty good about it. They're not, and the fortunate thing is there's not a tremendous amount of standing inventory. There really isn't, because the builders were so busy, they were just keeping it going. And many builders remember 2007 and 8. They don't want to go back in that same situation. So there's not this huge amount of standing inventory, which is a blessing. Lanier?
Given that most new builds are gonna be on their contract and not on a GAR form, there's really no protection against the low appraisal, is there? I mean, if it comes in low, aren't you normally gonna just have to make up the difference?
You typically are going to have to. There's not a lot of protection. Not a lot of protection. I spoke to a lady that's been in our industry. She's an underwriter. She's been in the industry quite a while. She lost her job last week, and she got laid off, which is unfortunately what's happening in the mortgage industry. A lot of processors and underwriters are getting laid off because there's just not the volume anymore. Now they'll all come back to work next year when everything picks back up again, second and third quarter. But right now they're slow. Well, this particular lady called me because we're friends, and she bought a new construction house. And she bought a house and it was supposed to be finished in the middle of December. She says, Greg, I think I know the answer to this, but I got to ask you, what do I do? I don't have a job. How do I qualify? I said, you don't qualify. You can't buy the house. And she says, oh my gosh. She says, the contract says I could lose my earnest money and my option money. And I felt like I wanted to jump through the phone and give her a hug and just say, hang in there. But if someone loses their job and they don't have another job, the builder doesn't have, the seller and the builder, they don't have to, seller's a little bit different if it's a resale, but in a builder situation, they could lose both their earnest money and their other money. And this was a sad case. I'm trying to help. We got to get her a job so she can close on this house. Yes, ma'am.
So, say if she lost her job last Thursday and she gets a new job next Thursday, how long does she need, like 30 days of income?
Oh, good question. She loses her job this last week. She starts in 2 weeks after Thanksgiving.
The same industry, does it have to be the same?
What's that?
Does it have to be the same industry?
It have to be the same industry. It helps if you're in a similar industry. The biggest thing is, how much money are you going to make? Are you going to make the same amount of money or less money? And how are you going to be compensated? If you are on an hourly or a salary and you go to commission, that's a problem. But if you're going to stay on hourly or salary, you're fine. It's not going to be an issue. And a 30-day gap of employment, for that matter, even on a conventional loan, even a 60-day gap of employment is no big deal. As a matter of fact, I don't even have to have you start work. As long as you've got a long history, more than 2-year history of employment without a gap or anything else, and you give me a letter that says that you're starting on such and such a date, you have no contingencies, you've made it through all the background checks, you've done everything, this is your salary, I can close your loan before you start work. So I'm sorry?
We need to find her a job.
I'm trying to find her a job. There's a bunch of us are, because she's really good, and she's sweet. And, but I don't know, we gotta see if we can find something. All right, any other questions? Yes?
VA appraisals versus FHA appraisal.
Okay,
I have a property who had an FHA appraisal,
okay,
and now I have a VA contract accepted on
okay.
it. Should I expect for the appraisal to come in lower or about the same?
Okay, Jasleen had if I got this correct, had a contract that was FHA and you got an FHA appraisal and everything was fine, but the deal didn't go. Now it's VA. What should you expect? Personally, I would expect nothing different than what I had on my FHA.
They had asked for a copy, so.
Oh, that's fine. That's perfect. Let him ask for it because the VA appraiser can look through it if he wants to, he or she. It doesn't make any difference, but I wouldn't expect anything different.
Okay.
If it does, then that means somebody's kind of not happy, having a bad day, because it should be the same basically. Okay? Last thing, unless Mike makes a change, do not miss Connect next week, Wednesday. Not this Wednesday before Thanksgiving, but the following Wednesday. Mike and I are going to do a session we're going to do a deep dive, if you will, on, everybody knows what's happening with interest rates because of CPI and everything else. We're going to do a deep dive into what to expect and why to expect what's going to happen first, second, third quarter of next year. And I am going to show you graphs that are going to lead you to believe that should some things take place that we think are going to take place, you and I are going to be very busy second and third quarter. So do not miss next week, Wednesday. All right? Thank you.